John Marshall had a great season. And I know the coaching staff, Coach Volker and Coach Newberry, need the striker to be an impact player in this defense. Can you talk about the challenge facing you and the rest of the strikers?
Yes, sir. So with that, they're preparing us very well to fill that role. It's probably going to be a little bit different because Volker, they usually have the same mindset with Newberry, but he has his little tweaks that he wants to add. So yeah, we're gonna be there though. We're preparing now with Coach Brown now as our new coach. He's preparing us very well to help fill that role as a striker, since the striker is a huge part to this defense. So I think we'll fit in very well, and we're working on it right now, every day through spring ball.
What did you learn from John Marshall? I mean, he obviously, figured out the position, and I talked to Coach Newberry numerous times last year, and he really learned how to rush the passer, ways to get, beat the blocks and get into the backfield. What'd you learn from John Marshall?
I learned a lot. When I first met him, I always tell him this. He knows he wasn't like the best pass rusher at like my plebe year when I first met him, but after that he grew a lot, and just seeing how he attacks the line of scrimmage, how he attacks the tackle or guard, whoever he goes against, the running back. He always expects to win. And I remember last couple years, actually, we've been working on moves after practice, stuff that he does in game, and like he'll teach me what he does and what he's looking at. So he was a very good pass rusher, and he knows a lot of stuff now. He's grown a lot, which has helped me a lot as well. So I'm excited to display that on the field.
So what's key for you? I mean, obviously, if you want to become the starter or, play significant minutes, what do you need to do to improve upon? What do you need to get better at, Xavier?
For me personally, there's always something for me to get better. So one day I'll take it slow. I'll focus on just my stance, the basics, the first, and then just build upon that. Then I'll move on to like working my hands, destroying blocks, and making good tackles. That's part of our core four that we have on defense. And then after that, like I can start actually understanding the defense and knowing where I fit and where to expect the offensive ball to go based on our defensive scheme. So for me, I know I have to work my way from the ground up. It's always like that every year. Spring ball is a good example to help us grow as athletes and actually help us understand the defense. So there's many different things. If I could list them all, I would.
So John Marshall got the bulk of minutes at that position last year. So they're, not, I don't think any of the returning guys played a lot of significant minutes at striker. Can you kind of talk about, everybody having to step up? I mean, somebody's got to try to play at a high level. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. So we all understand as a group that someone's gonna have to step up, and we all have to fill that role. And we know that even though we didn't get much time last year, including myself, we know that there's going to be a huge change to whoever goes in. And we have to prepare ourselves every day for that. And I think that the coaches are doing that very well. They're making sure they put emphasis on, hey, you need to get your reps now. They know we haven't had much experience out there, so they know they want each person to be able to go out there confident and know what they're doing, so they're not like shell shocked when they go in the game. And I think they're doing a very good job on that.
Who are some of the guys you're battling at the striker position, Xavier?
Right now it's open game. So they said with the new coach, everyone has a clean slate, everyone's working. So of course, Turner Step, Trace Jewell, everybody, Michael Mack, Matteo Bianchi, everybody. Even though I didn't name them all, Colin O'Connor, we're all battling right now. So whoever finishes on top comes out.
You feel like it's a pretty close right now between a lot of the top guys?
I wouldn't put it as like close between like each other, because we're all trying to improve, and we're not even trying to like beat each other out. Really, we're just trying to improve ourselves, and try to focus on what we can do better as our own individuals and make this team better. So I think that's what's best for us. Yeah, of course, there's competition. You want to be that person, you want to be that starter. But I think in our group, we're tending to focus on ourselves and helping each other instead of just trying to beat each other out and make sure, like, yeah, I'm happy that the other person lost because that means I'm up now. Like, we're not like that. We're all working together here, and we're trying to put the best player on the field, whoever that is.
So you mentioned Coach Brown. I mean, kind of talk about his coaching style. You guys, I'm sure he's different than Coach Caniglio, and you're having to adjust to that. Kind of talk about working with Coach Brown.
So far it's been very well for me. It was at first everybody was, that changed a little different. So now everybody understands his lingo or how he likes to coach. But I think we've grown with him a lot since the first day, and he's really putting his best foot forward, trying to help us understand who he is, and him trying to understand who we are as athletes as well. So I think the transition has been smooth. That I would say, for one word, smooth. So he's been doing a really good job, though. I'm excited to continue working with him.
So I was been out of practice, and you guys have been getting after it. Coach Newberry has built in some live periods where it's good on good, and it's the practices I've attended. It's been rather spirited. You guys like that? Really, the serious physical activity.
Yes, sir. For me personally, I love the physical side of the stuff, physical side of football. So that's what I always wanted to do, and that's why I play defense mostly. So yeah, I really enjoy that. Um, and I would say the energy that it creates also is very good for our team chemistry and just learning each other, who we are as players, learning each position. So I actually like it. I really like it a lot. It can be taxing, but that's just football. That's just how it's gonna go. But they always give us the time to get treatment, take care of our bodies, and we come out and attack again. But I love it personally. I love it.
So talk about last season. How many reps did you get at striker in the games? Did you see a little bit of action at striker?
I did see some action. Not much. I couldn't give you a number exactly, but there was times where I went in to fill in, or yeah, just to fill in, or just if they wanted me to do a certain thing, they'd put me up there. So, but I couldn't give you a number, but it was a good amount, I would say.
You played a lot of special teams, right?
Yes, sir.
What units were you on last season?
I was on every single special teams except for punt block. So punt, kickoff return.
Right. But I mean, you're prepared for a higher volume of reps at striker if you end up being the starter or even the backup?
Yes, sir. I'm preparing myself for that every day as I continue to work with coach and see what he wants me to do. So, yes, I'm preparing myself too on my side just to make sure I'm ready for that opportunity if it comes.
Coach, just in doing research on your background, coming here, what made you leave private sector to come back to coaching football after obviously having played it during your college career as well?
Yeah. Playing and being influenced by so many great coaches and mentors, you never thought you were going to coach. And I got a degree in finance. I always figured I'd do something in the financial world. And I started working at Morgan Stanley and studying for the Series 7, studying for the Series 66, and passing those tests. Really felt competitive, like I was back in the NFL, because they're like, if you fail this, you'll be fired. So that part was really cool because it was competitive and you had to prove yourself. And then when I kind of got into the day-to-day piece, I was like, gosh, I really missed the locker room. I missed the camaraderie. I missed the team atmosphere. And I also miss just the interpersonal development that goes on between a player and a coach. And I really liked that development as a player. And I'm like, you know what? I should probably go on the other side and be a coach and try to help shape young men.
You've been around, obviously, some terrific programs in your time. You got a taste of the American, obviously, there in a year at Cincinnati. Just thoughts on the quality of this league and obviously the offenses that your position players now will have to play a big role in trying to stop on a week in and week out basis.
it is an unbelievable conference. You get offenses from spread to using a lot of tight ends and everywhere in between. And it's cool because you also get some geographical trends. You get the South, you get the Northeast, you get the Midwest. All right, you get some of that Southwest area. So those parts are really cool. And then also there's really good high school football where a lot of those American conference player or where those teams are. So you got great coaches, you got different geographical trends, and then finally you couple that with really talented high school players from really well coached high school programs, and that's a recipe for a lot of competition.
As you take over this particular position and you played obviously the outside backer spot, responsibilities and maybe that player athletically has changed a little bit. I mean, you look at what success John Marshall had for Navy, people probably wouldn't look at him physically and say, oh, that's the prototypical guy at that position. What is it about those roles that have evolved through the years from when you played to what is being asked of that position now in a lot of different places?
Yeah. So it's like the days of the old New York Giant 3-4 outside linebackers that were just those enormous human beings that were setting edges and were basically able to get up and rush the passer. Those days, you still have that outside backer, but then there's this other DB safety / linebacker hybrid that's also getting put in the room now. So you got a little bit bigger kind of a D-line linebacker hybrid player, and then you have this DB linebacker hybrid player. And it's been really cool because through recruiting, sometimes you're like, oh, well, is he big enough to be a quote unquote linebacker, the old 4-3 linebacker, where Sam, Mike, and Will kind of all look the same. Well, now you can get a little bit lighter. You can get a heavier safety or a lighter linebacker, and he can play to the field. And then you can get kind of that maybe undersized defensive lineman where you're like, is he fast enough? Is he too heavy to be a linebacker? Okay, well, let's, put him to the boundary and let him kind of do his deal to the boundary.
Thank you, sir.
Wags. You're muted. There you go.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. So kind of talk about, coming into this staff and then, Coach Newberry has a system and now Coach Volker is in here. Kind of just talk about learning the system. You had a very quick introductory before you had to get involved with spring practice.
Yes. And we're drinking water through a fire hose, just getting to know the players. I mean, one of the cool things that's a unique piece to the Naval Academy is you're not doing spring ball with 70 to 80 kids. You're doing spring ball with 137 kids. And it's not just the defensive players I'm learning the offensive players as well with the special teams piece. But I've heard, so Coach Volker and I played high school football together. He was our high school Mike. He set the table for every single dude on our defense to get lined up and be able to make any play. I mean, you could have asked me in 1999, what's Coach Volker going to do? And I'm like, he's going to go coach ball. He's always been a ball guy. He's loved every piece of it. His energy and his enthusiasm for the game is palpable. The kids can taste it, and I really think they feel that. So he and I we've had a 20-plus year relationship. And when he went to Kennesaw, that's when he started talking about Coach Newberry. And he and I would see each other on the road recruiting. We'd see each other in July back on the west side of Cincinnati. And we'd talk and we'd catch up. And it was always one of those things where someday it would be awesome to work with each other. And it worked out to where we could make that happen this coming off season. And I'm I'm in a race to get everything down on defense. We got a really good outside linebacker room. We have a really good team culture. All right, from Coach Newberry and preceding him, Coach Nehemiah. It's a different type of kid that wants to come here, and those kids are so tough. They're so blue collared, and it's an honor to work with them.
So can you talk about kind of some of the guys you have at the striker and raider positions? Obviously, it's a situation where there was two outstanding seniors last year, got the bulk of repetitions, game reps at both spots, and they're graduating, obviously. So you're starting fresh, and not many of the players that are trying to fill those two spots have much game experience.
For sure. One of the cool things about the Naval Academy is, I mean, it is a real program. In the world of the transfer portal, in the world of NIL, all these different things, here you go. You get a kid, he may come from NAPS, which is great because he gets another year to lift. But those guys are here for 4 years. They're developing, they're building through the brotherhood their stuff on the field and stuff off the field. And I think what's going to be really cool for me as a brand new coach, these guys have known me for just around a month. So everyone gets a clean slate, and the energy and the overall attitude that they have brought to meetings, and then obviously we'll be wrapping up our second week of spring practice. It's been fantastic. And I'm still getting used to the guys, and they're getting used to me. But the thing that I love is they just keep showing up. They keep taking coaching, and it's going to be a really fun unit to be around.
Would it be fair to say it's pretty close at both positions? Nobody's really separated themselves.
Yeah, no, we're total. I mean, I'm still learning them, and it's not like I can go turn on the tape and watch them play a legitimate number of countable or meaningful reps on game tape. So I think it's kind of a perfect storm where I have no preconceived notion of anyone. And one of the things about the game of football is a what have you done for me lately business. So it's really cool that I get to come in. There's no anointed starter. Everyone's there competing, trying to coach each other up to make the team better, and also trying to get themselves playing at a really high level.
Thanks, Coach.
Back to Pete.
As a coach and the players, the places that you've played, who have been some of the coaching influences that have really helped you develop as a coach?
So the college coach aspect, a guy who recruited me, he was a Cincinnati guy, Don Horton, first class man, first class coach, coached his offensive lines hard, and you will never ever find a better coach. And this is a guy who's recruited Ohio for a very long time. I can't hold a candle to Don Horton. He was the offensive line coach for Tom O'Brien, who obviously is a Naval Academy grad. He recruited me to Boston College. He was such a class act. So he's one of the reasons why I coach. Bill McGovern. Bill McGovern was my position coach. He's a North Jersey guy. He picked off Doug Flutie when he played at Holy Cross multiple times. He's an unbelievable golfer, and he taught me the value of being a pro. And then that carried over into the NFL. And my first 3 years, I was spoiled rotten with Don Martindale, who is now the defensive coordinator of the Giants. And Wink taught me how to play linebacker. Wink also taught me how to go and actually make plays within the confines of a defense. With that, our defense coordinator was Rob Ryan. There's not a brick wall in the entire country that I wouldn't run through for Robbo. And then finally, kind of the other one would be Mr. Davis. So Al Davis, the owner of the Raiders, the late owner of the Raiders, he was a coach by trade, and he just ended up happening to own a team. There wasn't an ounce of tape that he didn't watch. He knew every single person in the building, and he knew every bit of scheme that we were running. And the conversations that he and I had for my 6 years in Oakland, there was not a private number that hit my phone that I did not pick up because I knew it was probably going to be Mr. Davis.
Special teams wise, you guys had a year where not only did you block kicks, but you had great coverage. Usually if you're blocking kicks, that means you're sending, guys in theory that are trying to block the kick. But how do you marry the two together to find that perfect combination of ability to get to and or make the punter very nervous, and then obviously be able to cover the kicks as effectively as you guys did as well?
For sure. You kind of look at it on defense and you say to yourself, all right, we're going to try to affect the quarterback. Well, there's a lot of ways you can affect the quarterback. You can either put him on his back, or you can get him off his spot. You can get him feeling uncomfortable. You can do a multitude of things. And in the punt rush game, that has a piece to make the punter feel uncomfortable. And the block game and the return game kind of go hand in hand, because that punter is going to be uncomfortable if you end up taking a punt back to the house. I mean, he's not going to kick it the same way the next time, just like if you were to block a punt, he's just not going to kick at the same time. So you have to have scheme that can do both, as well as scheme that can defend against any type of fake with the multiple formations that punt teams like to use. You got to be able to be sound.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Wags.
Well, another, in addition to have to find a Raider and a striker, new starters there, you got to identify a place kicker, because Navy lost its top two place kickers. How's that competition going? I was talking to Coach Newberry about that yesterday a little bit.
It's going well. The guys are doing a really good job, all right, of competing and putting their best foot forward. But also, I challenge them with, you can be competing against the man to the right and the left of you, but if you give him a couple tidbits, if you give him a couple tips, it's going to help him, but it's also going to help you. And in my opinion, it's going to help the unit strength of our specialist group. And if you have a tight-knit group, that will supersede anything that you try to do physically, in my opinion. So those guys are showing up. We're just going to continue to get more live situations, or more times for them to spotlight what they can do in front of the whole team, because it is it's kind of like you're Mariano Rivera and they're opening the gate and they're playing your music. You got to come in, you got to go do your thing at a high level, and you got to enjoy doing it.
Back to the Raider and striker positions, are there a few guys at each position that have kind of stood out to you that are really getting after it so far this spring?
You know what? As a group, I would say it all starts, and again, like I said, this is a true program where in today's world of college football, programs are like so much less, because they're like, well, we don't have this player, let's go out and get him. But the thing that's been cool here is, with that program also comes senior leadership. And I think our older players, all right, a Xavier McDonald, a Turner Stepp, a Chasen Buckner, those guys, they've set the tone for those younger players to come in. And again, I'm brand new. We'll be having our 7th practice tomorrow. So that part's really cool, because I have a clean slate, and I'm evaluating them off of 4 weeks of interaction, which is very cool for them. But I think it's a true parallel to the world of college football, meaning it's a what have you done for me lately business.
So obviously, I mean, you're coming in brand new and, learning not only the players, but the scheme at the same time. How much are you leaning on both Coach Newberry and Coach Volker to assist you with that process?
I'm leaning on them a ton. I've known PJ as the ultimate team player since I was 16 years old, and 15 years old. But those are all things that we have a history together, and everything he's told me about Coach Newberry has been fantastic. And then a guy like Eric Lewis, who's coaching our safeties. Eric and I worked at Boston College together, and we have history together. So I'm in there bouncing questions off of Elu. And then you throw in an RB Green, who is a consummate professional, the most humble person on the planet. And I'm bouncing questions off him as well. And then you go to Jarek Hall. And Jarek Hall's got the D-line playing at a high level. So if there's a run fit question, if PJ's doing something over here, I'm talking to Jay Hall. And then you got Va'a and you got Brenton Wimberly, two great young coaches. I mean, Coach Newberry and Coach Volker have assembled a really cool staff of humble men that are willing to roll their hands up or roll their sleeve up and go to work.